Hello, everybody. So, there's been quite a few that I can remember. A few people asking for the David Kaye video. I think I did like a commentary on the footage. But it went. It was with my old channel, and I don't think I've got the video anymore. So I thought I'd revisit it. Reason being, I do actually like this footage. It's pretty cool. I think the reason being, it's like it's very tense. It was one of the most memorable segments of the show. I remember rewatching it. I can't remember. I must have downloaded it or something, but I can't really remember. But I do remember rewatching that footage quite a lot. It's just I do that sometimes when I find something quite like interesting like that. I just watch them over and over again. It's like I'm sure we've all rewatched some of the other, Predator footage numerous times. This one is no different. So I think it's shocking for a number of ways. In a number of ways, sorry. It's shocking because it's a prominent member of society who's caught, and it was one of the things that highlighted the sort of problem, and something that the show sort of made people more aware of is that it's people from all walks of life, like we've said before, from all different kind of professions, and some people who, well adjusted, some people that are not. And of course this guy, he's like got a girlfriend, and he's going meeting, like, he's a rabbi. I mean, what? It's crazy, isn't it? Like, obviously there's no secret that there are a number of religious people throughout the years that have come into the limelight for, similar reasons to this. Maybe that's a topic for another video. We can delve into that a little deeper. But for the minute, let's just get stuck right in, shall we? The uncut footage. Do you remember Predator Raw? I think it was that I saw originally. Ironically, I saw the Predator Raw one before the actual real segment on the show, I think. It's not long as well. We've only got like 7 minutes of footage here. Surprising. I think they did broadcast the whole uncut footage on Predator Raw. Hence, but even though it's called Predator Raw, they don't always do that. They don't always show the complete uncut footage, I don't think. It's so memorable the way he's dressed, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's like... it's weird.
Hi. You okay?
I just busted crap out of my toe. I need a band-aid. Or something along them lines. But, doesn't seem to be any particular hesitance from him, does there, as he's walking in? Quite, even Chris says in the uncut segment, the level of comfort we see from these guys, that kind of thing, and he just strides in there, hands in his pockets, not really thinking there's a problem. I believe this might have been the first or second investigation, so these kind of things weren't really going on. They sting operations. So back then, people like him, I don't think that they considered it a big risk. Well, obviously, because this is the guy who's lost everything.
We'll see.
The audio's not the best. Apologies.
Hello?
Hi.
Hey, hold on a second. I gotta change my shirt. Yeah.
Okay.
It's still day. Hold on.
I love this bit coming up. It's just, it's great. I'm actually I've not seen this in a while. I'm actually quite excited about watching it again.
Sir, I gotta ask, you still gonna be up for tonight after seeing your girlfriend?
We'll see.
See, Dell with the little comment to try and incriminate him. But I don't think it's just something that they'll ask them to say. I don't think it's necessary for a conviction. Oh, that laugh is like so annoying, isn't it?
Sir, I gotta ask, you still gonna be up for tonight after seeing your girlfriend?
We'll see.
It's just a lumpy fucking joke for him. I think that's one of the things that we like. How someone's life can change in a second. You know, 1 minute, he thinks he's going to have like depending on how deep his sort of fantasy is, thinks he's going to have one of the best nights of his life, and then all of a sudden, he's fucked completely and he knows it.
So how can I help you?
No, man.
Why'd you have to see me out there? Go ahead, have a seat.
Don't understand what... Did you hear Dell then? At the same time.
So how can I help you?
No, man.
Why'd you have to see me out there?
I don't think she knew that he just walked in. And maybe she was trying to continue conversation because it was the early investigations. I don't think they had it all set up exactly, down to a T. And I think even Chris mentions that in one of the videos, in one of the segments.
Go ahead, have a seat.
He's in shock at this point, I think. It's like, I think some of them may have even got PTSD from this. Because it's like, can you imagine what your body's going through at that point? You know, he walks in, and no wonder like certain predators have a problem with Hanson, because he'll represent complete annihilation to them, won't he? What's interesting about him is he doesn't go anywhere, does he? He stays there. The tension, you can feel it. It's great. He doesn't know. He's in shock. He doesn't know what the fuck to do, does he? Just stood there, still in the same situation, still in the same position. He's going to be thinking, it's just, his head will be all over the place.
What are you doing here?
See what I mean? Asking me, it's just not moving anywhere. It's just in complete shock, isn't it?
I suggest you.
I love that line from Chris. It's really clever, isn't it? I suggest you sit down. It's like quite passively aggressive in a way. And there's nothing wrong with that. He's not ordering him to sit down. He's saying, I suggest you sit down. But that could be perceived as being threatening, couldn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's like if there's like a scrap going to happen between someone, and someone says, I suggest you get out of my face, or something like that, it could be perceived as like quite a threatening. So obviously it's all about perceptions, but it's great, that line, because it's just as simple of tone is everything, isn't it? I suggest you sit down, like, oh, can I suggest, or I suggest you sit down. It's like brilliant, you know what I mean? Because he's not law enforcement, but it makes him sound like law enforcement because he thinks he is a cop at this point, I think.
And take your hands up.
Especially when he says take your hands out of your pockets, that's going to make him think that he is a police officer, because that's what someone would say if they were a cop. It's something that someone would say with training, you know, to keep them safe. He's clever enough to know that. I think he's pretty convinced at this point, because obviously, if you think about it, later on when he just does one, if he knew what was going on there, he'd have never sat down. But he doesn't think he has a choice, and he's kind of accepting his fate a little bit. He sits down and looks directly at him, doesn't he? In terror.
What are you doing?
Not something good.
What did you do?
That's an interesting choice of words, isn't it? Not something good. It's like, well, it's kind of being frank with him, isn't he? I mean, he's just holding his hands up in a way. He's not trying to shy away from it. Not something good.
Tell me what your plan was.
He just doesn't know what to do, does he, at all? You know, tell me what you were doing here. Can't answer him. Looks away. Taps his fingers on the table. You know, got this nervous thing going on. Doesn't want to look at him. Trying to shy away from the situation. It's so interesting.
I don't want to be. This isn't good.
Not good. That's kind of an understatement, isn't it? Who are you here to see?
Can I know who you are, please?
I want to know a little bit more about why you're here first.
I'd like to know who you are, please. This isn't verification.
Well, I'm happy to tell you who I am. But I also want to go over some of this chat log with you.
It surprises me that he didn't press the issue. Because he just says, you know, he's quite persistent initially there, isn't he, Kaye? He's like, you know, I want to know who you are. No, I want to know who you are. And then Chris is quite clever in the way he words it. I'm happy to tell you who I am. So he's opening himself up and saying, I will be honest with you. He's showing honesty without actually telling him what he wants to hear. It's very clever. So Kaye is sidetracked then, isn't he? He's kind of like, he admits, well, it's appeased his fears a little bit, that he will get to know who he is, but he's not brave enough to keep pushing him. He's at this point.
It appears from this that you were setting up a meeting with a 13-year-old boy. I have the transcript right here, so you might as well tell me all about it. Okay, you're only 13. Yep, 13. Living in Herndon. For a 13-year-old, you handled yourself pretty well. Maybe I'll send you my pics. Yes, you are very cute, and when boys are that cute, they usually look like their moms.
It's so devastating, isn't it? Like, you know, this guy's a rabbi. In fact, we'll get onto that in a minute.
Loved meeting you, David. Sleep good. So you pretty much thought you were coming here to meet a 13-year-old boy named Conrad. Do you have anything to say for yourself? I like sucking and being sucked.
You see, he's not really giving Chris anywhere to go, is he? Because he's just saying he's not going into any detail about what he's doing there. He doesn't want to. He knows he's screwed, but he's not going to incriminate himself further. He's not going to go into detail about the chat or anything like that. So he just goes, "You've got everything there." You know, he's not going to say, "Oh yeah, well, I really wanted to fuck this kid," and all that kind of stuff. He's being a bit coy about it. He's still trying to figure things out. He's not 100% sure what's going on. He doesn't know what his best move is. He's in shock, basically. But ordinarily, Chris likes to get his teeth into them, doesn't he? He likes to really get into their heads. He's not really giving him the opportunity to do that. That's why the footage is so short. Because the thing is, he's got a bit about him, hasn't he, Kaye? In other words, he's got a degree of intelligence. He knows how shit works. So, of course, it's cut short, and we'll see that shortly.
I like to kiss. What do you do for a living?
A rabbi.
A rabbi. Now, presumably, you counsel families and children in your position as a rabbi. Children. What are you doing as a man of God, as a rabbi, in this house, trying to meet a 13-year-old boy?
I'm really... I don't want to do anything that's going to further make you angry.
I'm not angry.
No, Chris isn't. He is angry. There was aggression. There was borderline anger in the way he was talking then, and that's what I like about the way Chris approaches him. He gets personally invested in it. He's the voice. You know, he's the man with the morals. He's looking at it from that perspective of right and wrong. And sometimes he gets frustrated with him. It's like the Kennelly footage where he goes, "Then why do you do it?" You know, that kind of thing. It really pisses him off, and it's good because you put yourself in his place when you're watching it. You know, you're Chris Hanson when you're watching the show. You're the enforcer. You're the judge, jury, and executioner, and well, that's what Chris is doing here. Of course, he isn't, but as far as the footage is, he is. You know,
Well, you're coming across in a very angry and authoritative sense. I've asked you for identification as to who you are.
And with regard to the Rabbi situation, it's, if you think about it, like Chris touched upon, which is why I think he's more pissed off than what he would usually be. He's thinking like, you know, this is a guy who makes a career, makes money out of professing to be morally superior. Well, not necessarily superior, but morally affluent and with the Lord, you know, with God. God is seen in the you know, if you're looking at it from the old religious standpoint, God is seen as a beacon of light, hope, and joy, and love and happiness and everything that we aspire. And this guy makes a living out of pretending to walk with God on always the right side of life. Now, of course, doesn't mean he can't be human. However, this is subhuman, you know, to sort of... He's got these attractions to these kids, and he decides to act upon them. And he's basically, it demeans every good act that he's ever done has been tainted, has been destroyed. It's like, can you think if he's like counseled children or families and they heard about this? Can you imagine the effect it would have on them? Even if they'd like made a positive influence on their life, let's just say he changed a family's life with some kind of counselling or something like that. You know, and pointed them in the right direction and helped them out in a really bad time. And yet he and then they found out about this. You know what I mean?
Maybe I have to
It's bad shit.
show it to me. Right now, all that's happened is that I'm sitting in a house. And I had an email correspondence.
And you
with
sent pornographic pictures
Okay.
through the mail.
So,
Okay, that's a federal offense right there.
Okay, look. You know I'm in trouble, and
When that was originally heard, I thought he meant in the actual physical mail, as in through the post. But I think he just means over email.
I know I'm in trouble. I am not interested in getting any further. This is not something that I've done ever.
You've never done this before. Because I hear that.
He's got a certain openness about him, Kaye. Well, this is what I will say. He isn't really lying. He's not really lied to Chris at any point. He's not really hidden what he's done. He's not come up with a crazy story about his mate told him to bring a camera or whatever, any of that nonsense, or I was messed up at the time, or any of this shit. And if you just look back there, when Chris says, "Oh, you've never done this before?"
Done ever.
You've never done this before.
Look at his face, right?
Because
There's no denial. If he hadn't have done it before, he would have said. And he's like pausing because he knows he's going to have to lie. He doesn't... Because there will be a part of him, it's not pure evil, there will be a part of him that has this kind of, or thinks he has this integrity in certain aspects of his life. And that is coming to the forefront in this situation. He doesn't want to lie to him. He will view what he's doing. He will see this act of coming in here to see the kid. He won't personally think there's a problem with it. He will think that, yeah, it's wrong, but you know what? The kid, he's up for it. I'm up for it. Like, no one's going to come to any harm. He doesn't really see. He hasn't got enough about him to know that what he's doing is very, very wrong. He just doesn't. He chooses not to see it. For whatever reason, we can't exactly get into his head. I think that's most of how these people operate.
I hear that a lot.
Okay. Could you please show me?
And this is the point where he's like, I'm not having any more. Fucking tell me who you are. He's just locked at this point because it's got to the point where Chris is just going at him. You know what I mean? At this point, he's got him by the jugular and he's like not letting go. And it's too much. It was all quite subtle initially. You know what I mean? Just little gentle jabs. And he was able to put up with it. But because of the barrage that Chris is throwing at him now, he can't handle it anymore. He's saying, fucking tell me who you are, like, you know what I mean?
Tell me who you are. I don't understand why I can't pass someone into the
I'm more than happy to tell you.
See, at that point there, like, yeah, Jet's aggressive. He's like frustration was coming out. He knows then at that point, there's nowhere to go, Chris. He's not going to get anywhere at all. So he's got to give the game up, hasn't he?
I am Chris Hanson with Dateline NBC, and we're doing a story on computer predators.
You see, his reaction there is brilliant because he knows it's worse than he anticipated. With regard to the law enforcement, yeah, it's terrible because he's going to get locked up and whatnot, but he might be able to defend his corner. He might not be aware of how serious the charges will be. It's not an open and shut case in his mind yet. He still thinks, he's not resigned himself to annihilation of his life. But when the cameras turn up, for somebody who's in the community, it's destroyed him. It's completely destroyed him because he's not going to be able to go back to anything to do with his job. His friends and family and his colleagues are all going to shun him. It's like worst case. It's a total nightmare. And it's also the only time that anybody physically goes at Chris. Isn't that amazing? If you think about how many people he's confronted, it's the only time that anybody has physically gone for him. Now, as Chris says in the segment, there was not over any damage going to it was never going to come to any harm. But it's still an interesting situation, isn't it? For have somebody lunge at him.
You don't want to touch anybody. You don't want it.
Really lost it. You see, he's grabbing all the paper there. He's like scrunching it up in his hand. It's like he's in Is it? I can't describe the reaction, but you have these kind of bizarre. It's like a brain fuck, isn't it? You know what I mean? You're in this extreme situation and you just don't know what to do, and you're looking around, you're grabbing things.
Sit down. Sit down.
You don't have any right.
You're free to leave anytime.
I love that bit where it's like, you don't. And as soon as he says that, you're free to leave, and immediately, no second thoughts. He's got enough about him. Like, get the fuck out of here. Wow, great that, isn't it? It really is. But yeah, it's. I hope you've enjoyed it. I think that's his latest RSO picture. He's got like a hint of a smile there, isn't it? It's like, what a bizarre situation that must be, having to line up and like, could you just give us a smile, please, David? But I'm not feeling this one right now. He's like, come on, big smile, cheese. Like, oh crap! It's just what a bizarre thing to be pictured for, to put you on that list, to make you, to put you on a list of the lowest of the low of human beings. What a bizarre situation. You know what I mean? It really is. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed going through the footage. Leave any comments if you think anything that sticks out in your mind or anything like that, and I'll speak to you soon.